Hello, and welcome back to Parts of a Computer. This time, we're going to try to do the back of the computer and a little bit more. So, again, this is kind of a long video. There is quite a bit of information. If you want to take notes, make sure you have that notepad ready. And again, remember that you can stop the video, you can rewind, you can pause if you need to stop to write something down, to grasp a concept, or maybe you just didn't catch it and want to try to watch it again. Feel free to do what you have to. So, moving on, I told you I would show you this again. Here it is. So, we got down to CD, DVD drive, and now we're going to start at USB ports and other things on the back. So, now on to the back of the tower. So, the back of the tower looks like this. This is where all of the wires connect. So, right here, if you can see my mouse here, right here, I have a picture of the back of the computer tower. And you can see this area right here has all kinds of ports and crazy looking, frightening things on them. Here's another example right here. Trust me, they're not that scary. That's what we're going to go over right now, is basically what they do and what wires are supposed to connect to them. So, the first one is going to be audio ports. So, where the speakers, microphone, and line plug into the computer. So you can see I have them circled right here. Also have some right here in this image and up here. So, usually they are color-coded. So, on a desktop computer, most of the time green will be where you plug your speakers into. So your speaker would plug into this. Pink would be where you plug your microphone into, and look at that, it even has a microphone symbol. And blue is your line input. So it's kind of like your auxiliary. And most people don't use this too often, but maybe if you get into audio-based things, eventually you might. Now, there are other colors for audio ports, usually if you have surround sound speakers. So, other colors like orange, black, and etc. are for your surround sound. USB ports. So, these are used to connect external devices to a computer. And they are indicated by this funny-looking symbol right here. So here you can see I have the USB ports circled. They're rectangular in shape. They can be different colors. One important thing to note is that there are different versions of USB. The higher the number, the faster the speed of the USB. So if you're moving data from a device to your computer, the higher the number of your computer and the device, the faster your data will travel to your computer, or vice versa. So here you can see in a USB port and someone plugging in a USB device. Here are some USBs on the side of a laptop as well. Now, next we have what's called firewall. It is also called IEEE 1394. That's really the standard. However, if you see this number, like you do right here, you can associate it with the word FireWire. It is also used to connect external devices, but mainly for file transfers. It's less popular than USB. There's two different versions, a 4-pin and a 6-pin version, which you can see over here. That's what each port looks like for them. And they're indicated by this funky looking symbol here. So you can see it right here, and if you look really closely you can actually see the symbol right there. But so far we've gone over USB and FireWire, and these are just ports you plug devices into, nothing more. Now we're going to go on to the Ethernet port and wireless antenna. So I'm kind of combining two different things here, but they're related, and you're going to hopefully grasp how here. So, used to connect the computer to a network or the internet. Ethernet is a wired connection, and in the US look like a large phone jack. So if you look at your computer and you see a large phone jack, or you have a wire that looks like it has a large phone jack end on it, it's probably your Ethernet. Wireless is usually indicated by an antenna. So right here we have an Ethernet cable plugged into the port, which brings your internet over wire. And this is a wireless antenna, which brings your internet wirelessly. Again, here's an Ethernet, and here's a wireless. Here's a blank Ethernet. There's a close-up right here. Here's another close-up down here. So wireless is also known as Wi-Fi. If you hear the term Wi-Fi, they're talking about wireless internet for the most part. And Wi-Fi will use these symbols. So if you see these symbols, so this guy here, this one here, or this one here, they're describing a Wi-Fi or wireless internet access. So basically, these two different types help you get your internet to your computer. The Ethernet gets the internet to your computer via wire, and the wireless, as it sounds, helps you get it via wireless. Monitor ports. So monitor ports are where you plug your monitor into the tower. So your screen will have a wire and it connects to your computer tower. Of course, this doesn't apply so much to laptops, but they usually have a spare one, just if you want to use a monitor. So computers can have more than one if you want multiples. And there are three main types. VGAs are usually blue. That's this guy here. DVI is usually white. And HDMI is usually a D-shaped hole, somewhat resembling a USB port, and that's this guy here. And all you do is plug your monitor cable into whichever one of these you have, and turn on your monitor. Make sure it's plugged into the wall as well, and it should light up with your computer. So something very important here is the power cable. On the back of your computer, it should look something like this. You can see this guy plugging a cable into the back of his computer. Now here's a really big close-up. And you notice this little red thing down here is actually called a voltage switch. And the reason that exists is in some locales, they use a different type of voltage. In the US, it's generally 110, 115, 120. However, in other parts of the world, Europe, etc., they use 220 volts. So this switch is used to select what voltage you use in your region. So in the US, you would be using the 115. In many parts of the world, you would actually be using the 220 version. And it's very important to make sure it's correct. You do not want to be in Europe and have this on 115 if it has 220 voltage. And if you have it on 220 in the US, your computer probably will be thinking it's supposed to be getting more power than it is, and it won't turn on. So it's just a simple voltage selector. It's nothing to be worried about. Just make sure it's set to the right one in the US. If you are in the US, yours is probably already set correctly. It's probably nothing to worry about. And one other thing is there's this little switch up here. And that's kind of like a quick shut off, like in an extreme emergency to turn your computer off. You don't want to use it for any reason but an extreme emergency though. So quickly, I'm going to go over some other important things. Serial was how they connected external devices before USB ports. That's this guy on top. LTP was for older versions of printers, which is this one in the middle. And PS2 is the old mouse and keyboard connections. Green was for your mouse, purple was for your keyboard. Here's what it looked like on the end of the wire, and it would plug into this hole here on the back of your computer. Now, eSATA is an alternative USB. It's much faster in some ways. It's usually for like hard drives and other devices like that. That's this right here. And then SD and micro SD card slots are used to transfer files from devices like your camera. So if you see one of these little guys, a lot of computers will have a slot that you can put them into to get the files off of them. And that's a fairly straightforward version of this. Now, one thing I did want to mention before we end here, many of these can be found on different parts of your computer, not necessarily just the back. So your USB ports, your FireWire, these SD card slots can all be potentially found in other parts of your computer, even on the front. Alright, I hope this helped some. If there was anything you didn't get, rewind the video, play it over again, watch it one more time and take notes. But I hope to see you again in the next video.